Everybody just listen. Listen to me. People, I'm standing here with nothing in my hands, but truth in my voice. The world is shaking. Can't you feel it? Right now, between Iran and Israel, the fire is not small anymore. It's not just words, it's not just wordings. It has already started. Missiles flying, cities trembling, leaders making moves that cannot be taken back. They say defenses are strong, they say everything is under control. But even the strongest shields are breaking sometimes. People are getting hurt. Fear is spreading. This is not a game. This is not politics on TV. This is real. And when big nations clash, the fire doesn't stay in one place. It spreads, it reaches places you never expected. I'm telling you, like a poor man on the street with nothing to lose. When giants fight, it's always the small people who suffer first. Something big is building. You can see it in the sky, in the news, in the silence. Before the next strike, roads may close, flights may stop, markets may fall, even oil, even food, everything can shake. So, what do you do? Stay home, stay safe, stay aware. Don't run toward chaos like it's entertainment. Don't ignore the signs like they mean nothing. Sometimes survival is not about strength, it's about wisdom. Lock your doors, protect your family, keep your heart calm, but your eyes open. Because when the storm comes, it doesn't knock first, it just arrives. And I'm telling you now, this storm, it's already on its way. When the powerful begin to move against each other, the ground beneath ordinary people starts to shake long before the first explosion is heard. The truth is simple and painful. Wars are announced by leaders, planned by strategists, and fought by soldiers, but they are suffered most deeply by those who never chose them. The shopkeeper opening his stall in the morning, the mother preparing food for her children, the worker trying to earn a daily wage. These are the ones who carry the heaviest burden when giants clash. You might think such conflicts stay far away, limited to maps and borders drawn on screens. But that is an illusion. In today's world, nothing stays contained. A single strike in one region sends shockwaves across economies, across markets, across lives. Oil prices rise, food becomes expensive, currencies weaken, jobs disappear. A man who has never heard the sound of a missile still feels its impact when he cannot afford bread at the end of the day. This is how the fire spreads, not always through flames, but through silent pressure that tightens around everyday life. Fear becomes a constant companion. It sits quietly in homes, travels in conversations, and lingers in the air. People begin to watch the news not out of curiosity, but out of anxiety. Every update feels personal, every headline feels like a warning. Even those living thousands of miles away start to prepare, to worry, to wonder if they are safe. Because deep down, everyone understands that when powerful nations collide, the consequences are never limited to those directly involved. And then there is uncertainty, the kind that eats away at peace of mind. Plans begin to feel meaningless. Investments seem risky. Travel becomes dangerous. Education gets disrupted. Families begin to question their future, their stability, their safety. The world that once felt predictable suddenly becomes fragile. And it is in this fragility that ordinary people suffer the most, not because they are weak, but because they have the least control over what is happening. There is also the emotional cost, which is often overlooked. but deeply felt. Children grow up in fear, hearing words they should never have to understand: war, missiles, destruction. Parents try to stay strong, but their eyes reveal worry. Communities become tense, divided by opinions, overwhelmed by stress. Social harmony begins to crack under the weight of global tension. Even in places untouched by physical conflict, the psychological impact spreads like a shadow. The economic strain becomes visible in small, everyday moments. A man standing in a market, holding money that suddenly feels insufficient. A family cutting down on meals, adjusting their needs, sacrificing comfort. A worker losing his job because businesses can no longer survive under pressure. These are not dramatic scenes shown on television, but they are real, and they are happening quietly in the background of every major conflict. What makes it even more difficult is the lack of control. Ordinary people cannot stop a war. They cannot influence powerful decisions made in distant rooms by leaders they may never meet. This helplessness creates frustration, anger, and sometimes even despair. But despite this, life must go on. Bills must be paid, children must be raised, responsibilities must be fulfilled. And so people continue, carrying the weight of a conflict they never asked for. In times like these, awareness becomes survival. Understanding that the effects of such clashes are not distant but immediate helps people prepare, adjust, and protect themselves. It is not about panic, but about being realistic. It is about recognizing that when the powerful move, the ground shifts for everyone, not just those at the center of the conflict. Communities begin to rely on each other more. Neighbors check on neighbors. Families stay closer. People share information, resources, and support. Because when systems feel uncertain, human connection becomes the strongest form of stability. Even in the darkest moments, there is a quiet strength in unity, in knowing that you are not alone in facing what is coming. At the same time, misinformation becomes another danger. Rumors spread faster than truth, creating unnecessary fear and confusion. Ordinary people must navigate not only the reality of the situation but also the noise surrounding it. This requires patience, critical thinking, and a calm mind. Reacting without understanding can cause more harm than the situation itself. There is also a shift in priorities. Things that once seemed important begin to lose their value, while basic needs become the focus. Safety, food, shelter, and family take precedence over everything else. People begin to realize how fragile comfort can be, how quickly normal life can change. This realization, though harsh, brings a certain clarity about what truly matters. For those living closer to the conflict, the impact is even more intense. The sound of sirens, the fear of sudden attacks, the constant need to be alert, these are realities that no one should have to experience. But even for those farther away, the ripple effects are undeniable. The global nature of today's world ensures that no one is completely untouched. And yet, despite all this, there is resilience. Ordinary people have always found ways to endure, to adapt, to survive. History is filled with stories of individuals who faced unimaginable challenges and still moved forward. This resilience is not about ignoring the situation, but about facing it with strength and awareness. It is important to understand that being ordinary does not mean being powerless. While individuals may not control global events, they control how they respond. Staying informed, making careful decisions, supporting each other, and maintaining calm in the face of uncertainty. These are powerful actions in their own way. There is also a need for perspective. While the situation may feel overwhelming, reacting with fear alone does not help. Balance is necessary. Being aware without being consumed, being cautious without losing hope. Because even in times of tension, life continues, and maintaining stability within oneself becomes a form of resistance against chaos. The truth remains unchanged. When giants clash, ordinary people pay the price, not because they deserve it, not because they are involved, but because that is the nature of large scale conflict. The impact spreads beyond borders, beyond politics, beyond intentions. It reaches into homes, into lives, into the very fabric of daily existence. And so, the focus must remain on what can be controlled, protecting one's family, staying informed, avoiding unnecessary risks, and maintaining a sense of calm. These are not small actions, they are essential in a world where so much is uncertain. These choices create a sense of stability, however small it may seem, because at the end of the day, survival is not just about avoiding danger, it is about navigating it wisely. It is about understanding the reality of the situation without losing oneself to fear. It is about standing firm even when the ground feels unstable. The world may be shifting, tensions may be rising, and powerful forces may be at play, but ordinary people continue to endure. They wake up, they work, they care for their loved ones, they move forward, and in that quiet persistence lies a strength that no conflict can fully break. So remember this, not as a warning meant to create fear, but as a truth meant to create awareness. When the powerful collide, the impact is felt everywhere. And while you may not control the storm, you can prepare for it, face it, and find a way to stand through it. In times when tension rises and uncertainty fills the air, the difference between panic and survival often comes down to one thing: awareness. Not loud fear, not blind reaction, but a steady, watchful understanding of what is happening and what could happen next. When situations begin to escalate and something big feels like it is building, ignoring the signs can quietly place a person in danger long before they even realize it. The world does not always give clear warnings. Sometimes it whispers before it roars, and only those who are paying attention can hear it. Awareness begins with accepting that the world is not always stable. Many people move through their days assuming that tomorrow will look like today, that systems will continue to function, that safety is guaranteed. But when global tensions rise, that assumption becomes fragile. The first step toward protection is to let go of the illusion of constant stability and replace it with a mindset that is observant, flexible, and prepared. This does not mean living in fear, but it does mean living with open eyes. Caution is often missed at open eyes. Caution is often misunderstood as weakness, but in reality, it is a form of intelligence. When something feels uncertain, stepping back instead of rushing forward can prevent unnecessary risk. People are often drawn to chaos, especially when it is unfolding in real time. They want to see, to know, to experience it firsthand, but moving toward instability, whether physically or emotionally, can lead to consequences that cannot be undone. Choosing to stay back, to stay safe, to avoid unnecessary exposure is not avoidance, it is strategy. In moments like these, information becomes both a tool and a threat. The flow of news, updates, and opinions can be overwhelming. Some of it is accurate, some of it is exaggerated, and some of it is completely false. Awareness means learning how to filter this information, how to separate facts from noise. Reacting to every headline or rumor can create unnecessary panic, while ignoring everything can leave a person unprepared. The balance lies in careful observation, paying attention without being consumed. The environment around you also begins to change in subtle ways when larger tensions are building. Markets behave differently. Conversations shift, people become more cautious, and systems start to show signs of strain. These are not always dramatic changes, but they are signals. Awareness means noticing these signals, understanding that they are connected to something bigger, and adjusting accordingly. It is about reading the situation not just through headlines, but through everyday life. Safety often starts at home, in the simplest and most practical ways, ensuring that your immediate environment is secure, that you have what you need, that your family is informed and prepared. These are small actions that create a strong foundation. In uncertain times, people often look for big solutions, but it is the small, consistent precautions that make the biggest difference. A calm household, a prepared mindset, and a clear plan can provide stability even when the outside world feels unpredictable. Emotional control is another critical part of awareness. Fear is natural, but unchecked fear can lead to poor decisions. When people panic, they act without thinking, and in situations of uncertainty, that can be dangerous. Staying calm does not mean ignoring the seriousness of the situation. It means facing it with a clear mind. A calm person sees more, understands more, and reacts more effectively than someone overwhelmed by emotio. There is also a need to recognize the limits of control. Not everything can be predicted, and not everything can be predicted, and not everything can be prevented. Awareness is not about eliminating risk entirely, but about reducing where possible. It is about making thoughtful choices: where to go, when to move, what to avoid. These decisions may seem small, but they add up to a greater sense of safety. Community plays a quiet but powerful role in times like these. While awareness begins with the individual, it grows stronger when shared. Families, friends, and neighbors can support each other by sharing reliable information, checking in, and staying connected. Isolation can increase vulnerability, while connection creates strength. Knowing that others are aware and prepared creates a network of safety that extends beyond one person. At the same time, it is important to avoid being pulled into collective panic. When groups of people begin to react emotionally, the situation can escalate quickly, even if the actual threat has not changed. Awareness includes the ability to step back from this collective energy, to observe it without being controlled by it. This requires discipline and a strong sense of self, but it is essential for maintaining stability. The digital world adds another layer to this challenge. Social media can amplify fear, spread misinformation, and create a sense of urgency that may not reflect reality. Awareness means using these platforms carefully, understanding their influence, and not allowing them to dictate your emotional state. It is easy to get caught in a cycle of constant updates and reactions, but stepping away when necessary is a form of protection. Preparation is not about expecting the worst, but about being ready for possibilities. This mindset allows a person to respond effectively rather than react impulsively. It includes practical steps like having essential supplies, understanding emergency procedures, and knowing how to communicate if systems are disrupted. These actions are not signs of fear, they are signs of responsibility. There is also a deeper level of awareness that goes beyond immediate safety. It involves understanding patterns, recognizing how situations evolve, and anticipating potential outcomes. This kind of awareness develops over time through observation and reflection. It allows a person to stay one step ahead, to make decisions based not just on what is happening now, but on what could happen next. In uncertain times, patience becomes a valuable skill. Not every situation requires immediate action. Sometimes the best response is to wait, to observe, to gather more information. Acting too quickly can lead to mistakes, while waiting too long can create missed opportunities. Awareness helps find the right balance between action and stillness. There is also a need to maintain a sense of normalcy where possible. While awareness requires attention to changing circumstances, it does not mean abandoning all routines. Maintaining daily structure, continuing with responsibilities, and finding moments of calm can provide emotional stability. This balance between awareness and normalcy helps prevent burnout and keeps the mind clear. Children and vulnerable individuals require special attention. During such times, they may not fully understand what is happening, but they can sense tension and fear. Providing reassurance, maintaining calm communication, and creating a safe environment for them is an important part of overall awareness. Protecting others is not just about physical safety, but also about emotional well being. Trust is another factor that becomes important. Knowing which sources to rely on, which people to listen to, and which actions to take requires careful judgment. Blind trust can be dangerous, but complete distrust can lead to isolation. Awareness involves building a balanced sense of trust based on evidence and experience. As situations evolve, flexibility becomes essential. Plans may need to change, decisions may need to be adjusted, and expectations may need to shift. Being rigid in uncertain times can create unnecessary risk, while adaptability allows for better responses. Awareness supports this flexibility by providing the information and understanding needed to adjust effectively. It is also important to recognize that not all threats are immediate or visible. Some develop slowly, affecting systems over time. Economic changes, supply disruptions, and social tensions can build gradually. Awareness includes paying attention to these slower developments, understanding their potential impact, and preparing accordingly. Ultimately, awareness and caution are not about living in constant alertness, but about developing a steady, grounded approach to uncertainty. It is about being present, observant, and thoughtful. It is about making decisions that prioritize safety without sacrificing clarity. It is about understanding that while the future may be uncertain, the present moment offers choices that can shape outcomes. In a world where events can change rapidly and unpredictably, Those who remain aware and cautious are better equipped to navigate whatever comes next. They do not ignore reality, but they are not controlled by it either. They move with intention, guided by understanding rather than fear. And when something big is building, when the signs are there for those willing to see them, this awareness becomes more than just a mindset. It becomes protection. It becomes the quiet strength that allows a person to stay grounded while everything else feels unstable. It becomes the difference between being caught off guard and being prepared. Because in peak, the end, the strongest position is not always the one that moves the fastest or reacts the loudest. It is the one that sees clearly, thinks carefully, and acts wisely.